And yet, even as the waves of online frenzy surged, something deeper began to stir, a collective realization that this wasn't merely about celebrity affection, or about two actors teasing their fans with well-timed glances. No, this was about the kind of connection that lingers in the unseen spaces between words, in the pauses that say more than any line of dialogue ever could. Because when Sukai said, "You are my son," it wasn't just Tan Songyun he was speaking to. It was as if he was confessing to the entire world, to every person who has ever lost something precious, to everyone who has ever found light after darkness. That's why his voice trembled, why her eyes softened, why the world collectively held its breath. For one fleeting second, it didn't feel like entertainment anymore. It felt like truth. The kind of truth that makes even the coldest hearts thaw. The following morning, media outlets were ablaze. Headlines screamed of confessions, speculations, and hidden romances revealed, but none of them could quite capture the stillness of that moment. News anchors replayed the clip in slow motion, analyzing every blink, every smile, every flicker of emotion in their faces, while fans across the world turned into amateur detectives, dissecting years of interviews and behind-the-scenes footage. Old clips resurfaced, Sukai adjusting Tan Songyun's dress during a premiere without saying a word, Tan Songyun laughing uncontrollably when he teased her on set, the way their eyes would always find each other during press photos. Every moment suddenly became a clue, a piece of a puzzle that fans were desperate to complete. And yet, through it all, the two remained gracefully silent. No denial. No confirmation. Just quiet understanding. Perhaps that silence was their most eloquent answer of all. Because in a world where every word can become a headline, sometimes silence is the only language left for something sacred. As the days passed, fans began to notice something else, a shift in the way both of them carried themselves. Sukai, once known for his confident composure, now seemed softer, more reflective during interviews. His words, once casual, carried subtle layers of meaning. When a reporter jokingly asked if he believed in destiny, he smiled faintly and replied, "Sometimes, the sun and the sky don't plan to meet, but somehow, they still share the same light." The audience erupted, the symbolism unmistakable. Tan Songyun, too, began to show small, unspoken signs. Her laughter seemed gentler, her gaze quieter, as if holding a secret the world wasn't ready to hear. In one talk show appearance, when asked about her ideal partner, she hesitated, her eyes flickering for just a second before she said, "Someone who feels like sunlight, not too bright to burn, but warm enough to stay." The host chuckled, calling it poetic, but fans knew better. They saw through the poetry. They knew exactly who she meant. It was as though both were speaking to each other through coded language, a private conversation carried out in public. And the fans, now emotionally invested beyond repair, couldn't look away. Months passed, but the sun moment, as fans called it, never faded. Instead, it grew into legend, a modern myth whispered through fan forums, etched into fan art, replayed endlessly in edits that reached millions. Some fans called it destiny, others called it unresolved love, but all agreed on one thing: what they shared couldn't be faked. Their connection defied explanation, too tender to be friendship, too subtle to be a public romance, but too real to ignore. In one particularly emotional interview, Sukai was asked about the pressures of maintaining authenticity in such a scrutinized industry. His answer caught everyone off guard. "You can hide many things," he said softly, "but you can't hide the way someone makes you feel." The host smiled politely, moving on to another question, but the audience wasn't fooled. They knew the weight of that statement. Because deep down, everyone could sense that this wasn't about an abstract concept, it was about her. About the one person who could make him forget the cameras, the stage, and the crowd. Meanwhile, Tan Songyun continued to shine in her own quiet way. She never addressed the rumors directly, but her actions spoke louder than any statement could. During a live broadcast celebrating her latest project, she read fan comments aloud, smiling and responding with warmth. Then one comment caught her attention. "Songyun, are you really Sukai's son?" For a moment, she froze. The audience leaned in, waiting. She smiled, eyes twinkling, and replied simply, "If I am, then I hope I'm shining in the right direction." That one sentence was enough to send the internet into meltdown all over again. Theories multiplied, edits flooded social media once more, and fans rejoiced, convinced that their favorite pair had just exchanged another silent message across the digital void. What made their story even more compelling was that it wasn't driven by public displays or orchestrated PR stunts. There were no flashy couple photos, no grand announcements. It was all in the subtleties, the glance, the pause, the tone, the things that only those paying attention could see. It was like a secret garden that only the truly observant could enter. And perhaps that's why it felt so special. Because it wasn't for everyone. It was for those who believed in quiet love, in emotions too deep to broadcast, in connections that don't need constant validation to exist. As more time passed, a new rumor began circulating that the two would reunite in a new drama. When the production company released a cryptic teaser featuring silhouettes under a golden sunset, fans immediately lost control. The hashtag Sun and Sky Reunited dominated every trending chart within hours. Comments poured in from across the globe, "It's fate. We've waited years for this. Please let this be real." And while neither actor confirmed the news, their social media activity only fueled the fire. Sukai liked to post about reunion stories, and Tan Songyun shared a photo of an empty film set bathed in warm light. Coincidence? Fans didn't think so. It was as if they were playing a delicate game of emotional chess, leaving clues and watching their audience piece together the truth. But maybe that's what made it so addictive, the uncertainty, the in-between, the not knowing. Because love, especially the kind that can't be spoken, thrives in the spaces between certainty and mystery. And Sukai and Tan Songyun had mastered that dance perfectly. Yet, beneath all the speculation and media frenzy, there was something undeniably human about their story. It reminded people of their own unspoken feelings, of the person they once wanted to confess to but couldn't, of moments where a single glance said everything they didn't dare to say aloud. That's why people kept watching, kept hoping, kept believing. Because in a world of short attention spans and fleeting distractions, their story had staying power, not because it was sensational, but because it was sincere. And sincerity, in this era of filters and facades, feels revolutionary. One evening, during a live stream, Sukai was asked by a fan what he thought love truly was. He paused, visibly thoughtful, then said, "Love isn't about possession. It's about presence. Sometimes, it's enough just to know that someone is out there under the same sky." His words echoed across fan communities instantly. "Under the same sky" became the new phrase tied to their story, poetic, bittersweet, and hauntingly beautiful. Fan art emerged showing Sukai standing under a night sky, looking toward a glowing sun where Tan Songyun stood smiling. Some even started saying that their connection had evolved beyond romance, that it was about mutual inspiration, about being each other's guiding light in a chaotic world. Whether that was true or not didn't matter. What mattered was how it made people feel. Because in their story, people found pieces of themselves. As time went on, their bond continued to inspire. Actors spoke about them in interviews, directors praised their authenticity, and fans from around the world shared how watching them had reignited their belief in genuine emotion. One comment stood out under a viral post. "They remind me that love doesn't always need a happy ending sometimes. It just needs to be real." And maybe that's the truth of it. Maybe their story isn't about romance fulfilled or unfulfilled, but about connection, deep, meaningful, and enduring. A connection that outlasts fame, rumors, and even time. Because every time Sukai looks at Tan Songyun, and every time she smiles back, the world stops for just a second, as if remembering that moment when he said, "You are my son." A moment that will echo long after the lights fade and the cameras stop rolling. So, drama lovers, what do you think? Is it destiny, nostalgia, or something that exists in that rare space between? Was it a confession or a beautiful accident of emotion? Let us know what your heart tells you in the comments below. And as always, thank you for spending your time with us here on 24H News, TM, where we bring you the stories that move the heart and stir the soul. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because somewhere out there, another quiet moment is waiting to be discovered. Another unscripted heartbeat ready to remind us that, even in this noisy world, love, in its purest form, still whispers loud enough for those who truly listen.